So, it's been a minute. Well, not really a minute, more like 2 months or something like that. So surprise, I'm not dead. That's a good thing, I think. And of course, while I'm, gone, graduating and stuff, we get a bunch of new information. Like, so much information. And I'm just gonna kind of talk about it a bit. This isn't really a super heavy edited video. There's no music, there's no cool transitions. It's just me talking about it at the book. So let's just start it. So, Arc-9. A while ago, we got a bunch of information about it, and at the time, I didn't really think I wanted to make a video about it, because at the time there wasn't really a lot we knew, but since then, more and more information come out, and oh boy, not only do I have thoughts and opinions, the internet had thoughts and opinions, because for those who don't notice, Warrior Cats was trending on, Twitter. I think twice? If not, the second time was something unrelated. But yeah, so, first off, we finally got the official name of the arc and the first book's title as well. So Arc-9 will be titled Changing Skies. And the first book is The Elder's Quest. And as you can see here, here's the book cover. And I have thoughts about it. So first off, the art. I'm not really going to get into it because many of you know I'm not really an arty person. I've talked about cover art before, but I think what has been said about this cover art has already been said. Like, why is it framed like this? What's with the neck? Who are the two cats? Why does this look like it's photoshopped? Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't really matter. I don't want to hamper on the artist more than I already have. It's a cover art. It's a Warrior Cats cover art. It's basically you took the Arc 7 art, but moved the cat downward, which, I get it. If you want to invoke the original books, like having the cat center focused, you can do that. But literally Arc 8, it proved you can have the cat be the main focus without making it like this. So, I don't know, I'm not really going to dive into it too much. Again, people have talked about it. It's not really my place to do so. What I am going to talk about are the names. So first off, Changing Skies. I hate it. I hated it before we knew more about who the protagonists were, and I still kind of hate it now, but less so. So when I saw Changing Skies, I immediately thought, oh, it's another SkyClan centered arc. And I am really sick and tired of SkyClan centered arcs. It feels like we've had so many arcs recently focused on SkyClan. It's like SkyClan and ShadowClan are like the new ThunderClan of just clans we need to have PUVs of. Which annoys me because we are 9 arcs in, and we still don't have a Wind Clan main series protagonist. We finally got a River Clan one, a legitimate River Clan one, but still, no Wind Clan protagonist. And no, I am standing by my kind of guns where no, Dawn of the Clans doesn't really count. And the main thing, at least Skywing doesn't count because he's not a founder, he's just a normal guy that bounces around a lot. But yeah, no Wind Clan protagonist. I'm mad about it. And there was hope that maybe the new protagonist would be like a Wind Clan, because, Sky, Wind, Thunder, stuff like that. But nope, another Shadow Clan. But hey, at least protagonists are cool. But before we talk about the protagonists, also want to continue this. So, Changing Skies. This is also our first subtitle for an arc that has only 2 words. Pretty much every other arc has always had 3 words minimum. And Changing Skies just sounds really lazy. Even if you had done The Changing Skies, it would have been a little more interesting. But Changing Skies is it's really derivative. And then of course the title, The Elder's Quest. I mean, yeah, 2 of the protagonists are elder aged, but it just kind of seems really dumb because we already had the Apprentice's quest. What's next? The Warrior's quest? The Medicine Cat's quest? The Kit's quest? Honestly, the Kit's quest would probably be a really funny name for a book. Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind reading that. But yeah, it just seems really boring. Of all the title choices you could have chosen, especially after Arcs 8's Thunder and Wind, just using the prefix of each clan, you just go to this generic? I don't know, it seems a little lazy. But what isn't lazy are the protagonists they chose. Well, at least 2 of them. So our 3 protagonists, which people have already talked about to death, we have our 3 female protagonists. We have Tawny Pelt of ShadowClan, Leafstar of SkyClan, and Moonpaw of ThunderClan. Let's talk about the interesting protagonists. So, Tawny Pelt. Tawny Pelt has actually been a protagonist before in, like, a novella that apparently people don't like. I haven't read it, but I think it's Tribe Center booked. I'm not really going to get into my opinions of the Tribe because I like being on YouTube. But I think having Tawny Pelt as a protagonist is interesting because in Arc 2, you had the 6 cats as, like, the journey people. Like, Brambleclaw was a protagonist, Squirrel's Flight was a protagonist, Stormfur and Feathertail technically were protagonists, and Crowfeather, while he was never a protagonist of that arc, he was a significant side character, especially in the latter half. Like, he felt like a main character without a POV. Whereas Tawny Pelt got basically nothing. So it seems to me that maybe the creative team is giving Tawny Pelt, like, the spotlight, saying, hey, we know people like Tawny Pelt, let's give her something. Kind of what they did with Brightheart. Like, you know how people really liked Brightheart and people felt like they had misused Brightheart? And then we got the Brightheart, like, graphic novel. And then, like, not as much, but Ivypool kind of got a bit of, like, the authors are misusing them or whatever, and now she's getting a super edition. So honestly, it seems like that is kind of the same thing with Tawny Pelt. People know that she's a light character, and that she basically has nothing aside from a novella that most people didn't read. And so finally giving her something substantial, like a main series protagonist, is really interesting. Plus, she's an elder. In fact, I think her and Leafstar are, like, our first elder protagonists in a main series. And if you're like, and again, don't bring up Dawn of the Clans, because, correct me if I'm wrong, in Dawn of the Clans, they're not that old. I know they kind of feel like they're a lot older than they are, like Clear Sky and Greywing, but they're not that much older than, like, at best they're like a senior warrior. But yeah, having our first main series elder protagonists is really interesting. I think the only other time we've had an elder protagonist is, like, Graystripe Super Edition, I think. Yeah, I think he was the only, like, definitively, like, consistently elder protagonist. So that's interesting. We get to see, like, a different perspective. And of course, based on what the synopsis gave us, she kind of, like, sees a threat, but no one really believes her. It's kind of like the trope where, like, the old person knows what's going on, but the younger generation doesn't care. It's a bit, derivative, but I think it could be interesting, especially for Tawny Pelt, who we've never really seen as a protagonist. Plus, I think it would be interesting to see her perspective of, like, her children, her grandchildren, her, like, brother maybe, because he stepped down as leader, and maybe see from her perspective what her thoughts of the relationship is like. And overall, I think there is a lot of good potential there. The next protagonist, as I said earlier, is Leafstar, the leader of SkyClan. Now, again, Leafstar is a protagonist of other media. She first was a protagonist in SkyClan's Destiny, aka her Super Edition, except for a couple chapters when it wasn't. That was weird. And she also was the lead in the SkyClan and the Stranger, a manga / graphic novel / whatever thing. So, not only is she also a former protagonist, she's also been a former protagonist of significantly more Warrior Cats media that people have probably read. And similarly, I think she is a kind of popular character amongst the fandom. So, and part of her story is basically she's going blind. Like, she's older. Like, she's, aside from Misty Star, she's probably the oldest surviving leader, which is interesting. Yeah, she's the oldest surviving leader. Like, if Firestar was still alive, he'd be older than her, but he isn't. So this could be a story about her not just feeling her age physically or mentally, but also she's losing her eyesight, and people are questioning her leadership. They're probably going to ask her to, like, step down, maybe. But the issue I have kind of with that is I wonder how they're going to do that. Because if she steps down or dies, because I'm pretty sure she's dying by the end of the arc. If she doesn't, I'd be really surprised. But if she does, that would mean Hawkwing has to become leader, and he doesn't really feel like a leader to me. Neither did Sharpclaw, so they killed him, but I don't know what they're going to do there. But aside from that, having 2 former protagonists of other media, older protagonists, and both women, is quite significant for Warrior Cats. And I think them being protagonist is really cool. I'm actually really excited to see what they do. And if it was just the two of them, I would say this is a very hype arc. I would be really excited to see what they do. But of course, this is Warrior Cats, and there has to be 3 protagonists for some reason. So let's talk about Moonpaw. So Moonpaw was announced as like the new protagonist of ThunderClan, the young apprentice who can hear things. Now, interestingly, neither the synopsis nor the website confirm that she is a medicine cat, which I think is an interesting take, because almost undoubtedly she's going to become a medicine cat. If not immediately, eventually. Which kind of, I wonder why they're hiding it, unless they're going to do a story about she doesn't need to be a medicine cat if she doesn't want to. Like, even if she has fantastical cosmic power, she doesn't need to be a medicine cat. Which I feel like they kind of already did with Frostpaw. I haven't really read Arc 8, but I feel like Frostpaw is going on a very similar journey to what they're kind of setting up Moonpaw for. But I don't know. It just seems that, of all things, this is the route you're going, that you could have told me something different. Also, again, the voices thing. We've had that. Like, the hearing the voices. Frostpaw, to a lesser extent, had it. Shadowsight had this. We've had so many, like, medicine cats that just hear voices, and it's like, why? Why are you doing this for, like, basically the 3rd arc in a row? It's so annoying. Also, Moonpaw, if you didn't pay attention to Twitter, Moonpaw was in a bit of controversy, because Moonpaw's official design was revealed, and it was revealed that she is a chimera. And apparently, that is controversial, and people had opinions about that. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really care enough to look into why it was controversial, and I don't really care to do so now, because it's just... why? I don't know. So please, could you tell me, down in the comments, why Moonpaw being a chimera is a point of contention? Because honestly, I don't know, and I'm just scared to look it up. So please, let me know. Kindly. Well, you don't have to, but kindly. You could yell. I don't care. So, that's pretty much all we know for Arc 9 right now. It's looking pretty cool. I'm excited, and I will, when it comes out next year, which at the time looks to be January, although it is speculated that's just a temp date. But if it does come out in January, that'd be like the first time in years that Warrior Cats broke their release schedule of like April, which, of all things, breaking it for Arc 9 is just kind of weird. But yeah, having all female protagonists, that's really cool. But as I said earlier, and this is a tangent, I was going to make this its own video, but I'm like, nah, I'll make it in this video. So 3 protagonists. I don't like it. I don't think 3 protagonists have ever worked. I think it's always failed. And of all the times to drop 3 protagonists, you should have done during this arc. Like, if you just had Tawny Pelt and Leafstar as our 2 protagonists, that would be amazing. Like, give the Moonpaw hearing voices thing to Leafstar. Like, she's going blind, her kind doesn't trust her. Add on top of that, the fact she can start hearing voices, and people will start to doubt her even further. Like, we've only ever done 2 protagonists once, in Arc 2. So having it now would be amazing. Like, 2 kind of fan-favorite characters who have been protagonists before, who are older women, as your only protagonist for this arc would have been amazing. And this is not to discredit Moonpaw, because again, we haven't read this book yet, so I don't even know if Moonpaw is derivative or if her perspective is bad. But at the moment, given the information that has been provided to us, I do not see any worth in having Moonpaw as a protagonist. I think it would have been significantly better if Tawny Pelt and Leafstar were the only protagonists. I think that would have been probably the better choice. And then, again, we don't really know much about this arc, so it's very possible that my opinion could change. Other people's opinions could change, and maybe they do something very, very interesting with this Moonpaw. But at the moment, Moonpaw, being both a chimera and hearing voices, just seems like someone's OC, do not steal. So, yeah. Overall, Arc 9, Changing Skies. So far, looks pretty interesting. gonna have to wait like what? It's June now, so wait, what? 7-9 months before we can read the book. Until then, yeah. And little side note, sorry I've been absent from the videos. I'm gonna try to do more in the coming weeks, but I'm not gonna have a set schedule because life is fun sometimes. And no joke, in like a couple hours I have to go to theater practice, and that's taking up a significant part of my life this month, so you know. But the next video, actually I don't know, I have a couple videos that I want to do. But what do you want me to do? Any topic you want me to talk about? Anything, characters you want me to discuss? Or do you guys just really want me to do like Arc 2 already? Because if you want me to do that, I'll get on it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.